Hey everybody, welcome back to Everyday Journey. Today we're going to quickly fix a hammer. This is not the best hammer. It's probably one of the El Cheapos that you can get, but I actually like it. I'll tell you why. Show you these hammers. These are the other ones I've got. I've got this here, I believe is a carpenter's hammer, not really sure. It's kind of big, a little bit heavy, and here this is pretty straight, so it makes it hard to pull up and pull nails out. The other thing is, and it may be just because this one's worn so much, but it's got really fat tines to it, or whatever you would call that. They actually make it hard to get a nail underneath. So whenever I broke the hammer, I thought, oh, I'll go get another one, right? So I got this one. It's a pretty good one. I guess this is a Hart 16, maybe 16-inch hammer. I'm not sure, maybe 16 ounce. And it's not a bad hammer. It's got little special things. It's got a magnet here. You can put a nail up on there. Let's see if we got a nail handy. I don't, but I've got a screw. You can put a screw right on the top of it, just like that. And I'm not really sure how helpful that is, but it's on there. Never really used it or found a use for it. And it's got a thing on the side to be able to pry. You know, you could put it over the top of the head of the nail and pull it up that way. And then it's got a flat spot on this side here where you could hammer down in case that you didn't have a lot of clearance. But the one thing I don't like about it is, again, look at this. It's got really fat tines to it. I mean, unless the nail is sticking up about 1/4 of an inch, you're not getting this one under it. So that's why I like this one. Yes, it's a cheap one, but who cares, you know? I just broke the handle off of it, and we're going to put a new handle on it, or I'm going to. One of the reasons why I'm going to go ahead and do this is because this is a cheap hammer, but if I went out and bought another one, I would probably spend at least probably $10, maybe cheaper, I'm not sure, but I got this at the flea market. This cost me, the guy says it's hickory, and it probably is. He probably wasn't lying to me. Hickory handle, paid $2 for it. I can't get a new hammer for $2, but now I'm about to have one. So let's go ahead and get the innards out of this one so that we can replace it with this. So we're going to take the hammer head here and actually put it facing down into the vise. And it's probably somewhat wedge shaped, which is part of the reason why I'm face it down. And the tines, or the claw part of it, is actually a little bigger, so we're going to turn it this way. And use a chisel and see if we can't just hammer out the inside. What I was hoping not to do is, if this is like most hammers, it's got a wedge hammered down in there. And this looks like it probably had epoxy over the top of it. I was trying to miss that, but obviously I'm hitting down on it, so now I'm going to go the other way with it so we can knock it out the top of it. Well, it's proven to be a little more difficult. The end of my chisel is actually going down into the wood grain there, and it's not actually knocking it through. So I'm going to do what I really didn't want to do in the first place, which is possibly ruin a drill bit, but I'm going to drill down through here and try to remove some of this. So I'm just taking a small drill bit. This is a 5/32. I'm going to try to drill in places where I don't think that wedge is, because it's most likely a metal wedge, and I don't want to drill into that and ruin my drill bit. I also don't want to get it next to the side with the hammer, because the same thing, it'll ruin the drill bit. Hopefully now we have enough that'll loosen the grip on that thing and let it just come right out. There we go, there's the wooden part coming out. And what I'm interested in here, hopefully it's got it in here, is to actually get the wooden wedge back out of it. If there is one, or sorry, the metal wedge, if there is one. There may not be. So let's see what's in here. may not have a wedge, or at least may not have a metal wedge. And it looks like there may not be a wedge at all. I'm seeing here, this looks like it's all epoxy. So who knows, maybe they're using an epoxy wedge or something. Anyway, I don't have a wedge to work with here, so we're going to have to make do and find another way to do this. Since we don't have a wedge in there, we're going to get this ready for a wedge of our own making. So I'm going to actually use a wooden wedge, which should work just fine, but we have to make room for it. So we're going to go in the lengthwise direction on the top of this and actually just saw down into it. We got to make room for a wedge to go down into it. As you can see, I've not gone all the way down. I don't want it to be that far down. I want it to still have plenty of strength there. We're just getting it ready for putting the head of it on there and then having a place to put the wedge in. So now I got to get the rest of the stuff out of the head of it. You can see there's a little bit still left in there, and get the rest of that out of there, and then we'll get ready to fit this. Alright, so I just took a smaller chisel and I just went down and got the rest of it out of there. But now we're looking at the hammer itself. The handle does not actually go on there. It will, we just have to modify it a little bit. So we're going to take a little knife and go ahead and carve it. I think the sides will go in because it can just close itself in where we just sawed it. But we need to go ahead and make it a little shorter. So we'll go ahead and just carve it down. The grain going vertically like this makes this easy. So you just take your knife, good sharp knife, and just go ahead and carve it a little bit. And then you check it, carve a little bit more. Just keep going until it fits in there snug. There we go, it's starting to go in there. Now we're going to take it and try to hammer it in. We may have to carve a little bit more down here at the bottom so that it slides all the way down, because we want to get it as far down there as we can. We'll trim off whatever excess hangs out the top. So I test fitted it, and it looked like it was closing up this gap too much in here whenever I first test fit it. So then I went and took some more off the sides right here so that it would be a little thinner inside there and it wouldn't squeeze so much on that. So now that we've got that, we can put the head of it back on. You see it goes on a lot easier. We could take us a rubber mallet and actually knock it the rest of the way down there. So now we just take our wedge and we're going to add a little bit of glue onto it. See my ghetto glue container here? It used to have a lid, but it fell and it broke. But I'm a tightwad and I refuse to get rid of it until the glue's gone. So I just put a piece of plastic over the top of it, put a rubber band around it. Works just fine. So we'll put that back on in a second. Just take our wedge here and get it started, and then we'll take our hammer and tap it in lightly. There we go. See, it's in there, it's spread it apart in there. Now you can see that there is still a gap around there, and the best idea for that, even though this is not loose, best idea is to take you some epoxy and go ahead and fill that again just like it was before, and That way it'll fill the void and it'll make it a little more solid up here. Won't break the handle as easily, although it probably won't break the handle anyway. This thing's pretty stout, so it's not going anywhere. Alright, so there you go. A few minutes of your time, a couple dollars of your money, and you can save yourself quite a bit. We now have a perfectly good working hammer. It has a great, nice thin claw, so it actually grabs the head of a nail pretty easily. And if it breaks again, who really cares, because we now know how to fix it, right? But I think this one will probably last quite a while. Even longer too after we put some epoxy in here. And I think I might, after looking at it, it looks like it could use it. There's kind of a fairly good sized void there, and it's best to just go ahead and fill that up. So I've got some extra epoxy that I've just been looking for a use for, and that would be perfect for it. For that, you just put some tape or some putty or something around the bottom of the head of the hammer there, making sure that the epoxy isn't going to drain down out anywhere, and then just fill it from the top. So you could just sit there and pour it down in the little gaps. It'll work just fine. So now I got my hammer collection. This is actually one that I made a handle for, and it's not the best handle, but until I do something different with it, it works just fine. So everything else here is straight from the store this way, but they're all working just fine, and one by one, except for the ones with the metal handles, one by one I can repair these if something were to happen to the handle anyway. Except for maybe this one, which I don't think I'd want to repair that one anyway. This rubber mallet's seen better days. But anyway, you got any questions, send them my way. Got any comments, of course, send those my way too. I always love hearing from everybody, and I would love to see a lot more comments. That's really what I do this for, so I can see the comments. Hopefully help people if they have any questions. And of course, if you see something I'm doing wrong, catch me on it. Tell me about it, because I do things wrong all the time. Anybody that knows me knows that. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. You guys take care.